Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at Dragapult VMAX and the fact that it's coming back. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I like Dragapult. Like pretty much everyone who's played through Sword and Shield, I think Dragapult is cool. But the problem is that when Dragapult VMAX came out, it was the best deck and everyone was playing it, and I didn't want to play the deck. So I have been looking for an excuse to play Dragapult, but not the straight Dragapult deck that was absolutely crushing when we came around and Rebel Clash first got released. Well, great news, ladies and gentlemen. Great news. Dragapult's back with Rapid Strike Urshifu, and I'm fairly sure this deck is actually legit. Shout out to the lovely Talonite X here who put us onto this particular deck. And we've actually got 3 winning deck lists I can show you here. So yeah, fine. These are smaller tournaments because bigger tournaments literally aren't happening. But make no mistake about it, if it's winning this many tournaments this quickly, and these are just a deck list we've been able to get hold of easily, this is a deck which is absolutely legit. So starting off with Dragapult VMAX, we've got 1 energy, 60 damage, goes to any effects on the defending Pokemon, might be relevant here or there. But we've got 2 energy, 130 damage, put 5 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way that you like. And this is really important and really relevant. This gets you extra KOs, it helps you set up KOs, etc. This is genuinely awesome. And the thing that we're doing here is we are basically setting up KOs on 2 main Pokemon. And that is Mewtwo and Mew. Now, Mewtwo and Mew has 270, so you're actually 10 damage away from a KO. But do remember you're dropping damage counters as you go here. So you absolutely can set up for the future here. So you're absolutely fine. And then you've got Urshifu V and Urshifu VMAX, and yes, I am referring to both versions of them. Both Single Strike and Rapid Strike are seeing play over in Japan at the moment. And essentially, if you come up against the Vs, you'll get a 1-hit KO. The VMAXs are both rocking a little bit more than that. They're both rocking 330, but you are getting a nice 2-hit KO, and you've got resistance to them, and you can set them up with the first attack, so essentially, this is countering some of the very best decks in the format at the moment. Don't sleep on Dragapult V. 2 energy, 140 if it became active this turn, which is enough to get a straight 1-hit KO on a Mewtwo and Mew. This is the Pokemon that can counter a lot of stuff in the format at the moment, but it's not proven to be quite good enough by itself, not since we got Darkness Ablaze, and a large part of the reason for that is Eternatus, because Eternatus absolutely wrecks Dragapult. But that's where Urshifu VMAX comes in, because Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, for 1 energy, does 150 damage if you became active this turn, which is 300 if you're hitting for weakness. So now you've got weakness on Eternatus, and you've got weakness on Pikachu and Zekrom, and essentially these 2 Pokemon between them are hitting weakness on all of the most relevant Pokemon in the format, pretty much. And that is a thing of beauty. Once again, you are a little bit short of getting a 1-hit KO on an Eternatus. You'll be 40 damage short. But what you can essentially do is bring something else active, get a KO on them, while dropping 5 damage counters on a benched Eternatus, which will then get the KO. So even though Gale Thrust doesn't 1-hit KO, it puts it in range of being KO'd by the residual damage from Dragapult, which is not a million miles away. Now, obviously, when you're playing this deck, you know, over the 3 lists, the attackers we see basically are Dragapult VMAX and Urshifu VMAX. That is absolutely what we're going for. I should mention that Rapid Strike Urshifu has G-Max Rapid Flow. You discard all energy from it, but you do 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, bearing in mind that Dragapult VMAX is going to be dropping damage counters as you go, and the combination of the 2 of those can absolutely set up some key KOs. The Urshifu V itself is not particularly great, 3 energy 150 or 1 energy 30, it really is there just to evolve up, but that's fine. These 2 Pokemon together are good attackers. There is one of the 3 lists I'm going to show you here that does play a Gengar and Mimikyu, the lovely tag team there, because it hits 50 damage for each trainer card in your opponent's hand. It's not particularly awesome if I'm honest with you, but it's fine. It's a nice little card, nice little extra. It's got a GX attack, and you're not using a GX attack on any other Pokemon that stops your opponent playing any cards in their hand next turn, so it's alright, but only one of the list plays it. I don't think it is absolutely essential. In terms of support Pokemon, we obviously see Crobat in all 3 lists here. Crobat is phenomenal. Play every hand to your bench, draw 2, you got 6 cards in your hand. And then there's a little bit of, well, I mean, all the other decks play other support Pokemon, but there's no real agreement on which one to play. So one of the lists does play an Eldegoss, which gets a supporter card from your discard pile back into your hand. 2 of the 3 lists play the new Kricketune. Kricketune is basically the old Oranguru. You draw until you got 3 cards in your hand, but if you're active, you get to draw until you've got 4 cards in your hand instead. So it's pretty good, especially bearing in mind that with Urshifu VMAX, you want to switch in and out the active, because when you go active is when you hit 150. So you know what? You're going to be doing a bunch of switching. Sure would be nice to pop a Kricketune in the active and draw 2, you got 4 cards in your hand when you're doing that switching. Seems fairly sensible. And then one of the lists does play Octillery. This is the one that lets you search for any Rapid Strike card during your turn. Only limited to once during your turn, so even if you've got more than 1 Octillery, you only get 1 search. But it's really nice for searching out your Rapid Strike cards. And then one list does play a Mew to protect your bench. Now, in terms of the energy, obviously it's not going to be a straightforward energy line here, because you've got an actual fighting type attacker using actual fighting type energy, and you've got an actual psychic attacker using actual psychic type energy. So essentially what we do is we play around a bit here. But we do have agreement between 2 of the lists, and 2 of the lists basically go for a 4-4-4 line. 4 copies of Aurora Energy, which can pay the energy for any of the Pokemon, bearing in mind that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX is a single energy attacker most of the time. 4 copies of Horror Energy, because your opponent has to take 2 damage counters when they attack Dragapult when it's attached. This was amazing with Dragapult before, and nothing has changed. And 4 copies of Rapid Strike Energy here. It is 2 Water/Fighting Energy when attached to a Rapid Strike Pokemon. It ain't no good for Dragapult, but it is really essential here. If you want to use the bench hitting attack, does 120 to 2 bench Pokemon from your Urshifu, you are definitely going to need to play this card. Now, I don't intend going through every trainer line in all 3 of the lists because it gets a little bit silly, but I do want to shout out, the main things we're going through here. Obviously, Professor's Research, Marnie, and Boss's Orders are all absolute plays here. Professor's Research, discard your hand and draw 7 cards. Fastest, most aggressive draw supporter in the format. Marnie makes both players shuffle a hand and put them on the bottom of the deck. You get 5 cards, your opponent gets 4. Assuming you played it. Decent shuffle draw while slowing down your opponent. And Boss's Orders drags one of your opponent's Pokemon from the bench into the active. So clearly these are going to be played like in every deck. We do see that Guzma and Hala finds its way into all of the decks here. And it absolutely should. It searches for a Stadium, a Tool, and a Special Energy. But this is a deck where Special Energy, regardless of which list you're playing, you're going to be using a bunch of Special Energy. Even the list that has a different energy line still plays 4 Rapid Strike Energy and 4 Horror Energy. Just instead of 4 Aurora, it plays 2 Psychic, 2 Fighting. So Guzma and Hala becomes really, really important here. Obviously, because of how Urshifu VMAX works, switching becomes pretty gosh darned essential. So we do see Escape Rope, being played in all of the decks here. This switches while making your opponent switch, and bearing in mind a lot of the time you are going to want to make your opponent switch because you're going to do a big KO and then want to finish them off with Dragapult. So you drag something else active using Escape Rope so Dragapult can finish them off when they're sitting on the bench. Seems pretty standard. Karate Belt obviously becomes a really nice option here. If you're behind on prizes, it will reduce your attack cost by 1 fighting energy on a fighting Pokemon. So if you're behind on prizes, it lets Urshifu use its big attack for just a rapid strike energy. That is obviously a brilliant, brilliant thing that you cannot turn down. In terms of your Pokemon search, obviously we got Quick Ball here to grab your basics, but because you are playing evolutions, we see a mixture of Evolution Incense and Pokemon Communication. Evolution Incense just gets an evolved Pokemon, and Pokemon Communication swaps a Pokemon in your hand for one in your deck. But both your main attackers are Evolution Pokemon, so it becomes pretty gosh darned important. And we do see one of the lists here playing around with hammers, that being 4 Crushing Hammer to get rid of any energy, and a couple of Fan of Waves, that puts a special energy from your opponent's Pokemon to the bottom of their deck, does not discard it. It's basically Enhanced Hammer, but instead of discarding, it puts it at the bottom of their deck. Still takes it off for a moment though, and then that's pretty gosh darned important. And the stadium of choice here seems to be Power Plant, turning off GX abilities. If you can have a couple of turns slowing your opponent down, it's the same theory here as Crushing Hammers, you are going to have a very, very nice time indeed. Though here is the first list. This is the one that plays Octillery, and you can see here we got all special energy. Obviously, if you're only playing special energy, do look out for those special energy hate cards. And you'll see there are some Corinna's Motivation up there. It's a Rapid Strike supporter. It's just a reprint of Bianca. But obviously, if you're playing Octillery that searches out Rapid Strike cards, it does make sense to have a Rapid Strike supporter that can be searched with it. Here is the second list, where you do play Kricketune and Crobat, and this is a list that plays all of the energy hate. You got your Crushing Hammers and your Fan of Waves, and there's no Aurora energy here, going for basic energy instead. Gives you a tiny bit of protection against the special energy hate, though not a huge amount. And here is the final list. This is the one that plays Mew and Gengar and Mimikyu. And there's fewer tricks here. It's a little bit more streamlined. Same list in terms of the 4 special energy. Well, 3 lots of 4 special energy. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I love Dragapult. I'm delighted Dragapult is back. I kind of want this Dragapult deck to be good enough to be viable, but not good enough that everybody plays it, because I generally tend to stay away from the biggest decks in the format. I think this is legit, but I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.